Anthony Quinn finally speaks out about Charles Bronson. Anthony Quinn's full name at birth was Manuel Antonio Rodolfo Quinn Huayaca, Chihuahua, Mexico, on April 21, 1915. Anthony Quinn's life story was proof that you can keep going and start over. Quinn had a terrible existence as a child because his father was Mexican and his mother was Irish. When he was a child, his family moved to Los Angeles, where they were poor, and it affected his early years. Quinn did a lot of different manual tasks like boxing and building to help his family, experiences that gave the characters he played on TV a sense of realness and toughness. Quinn's passion in art and architecture was a turning point in his life. He studied with the famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright, who told him to try acting after seeing how expressive and unique he was. This advice put Quinn on the road to becoming one of Hollywood's most famous stars. Quinn started acting in the 1930 seconds, but Hollywood at the time only let him play small or stereotypical ethnic roles. He kept working on his art though, since he was determined to go beyond typical casting. In the early 1950s, he had a big break when his performances showed a depth and emotional complexity that people couldn't ignore. His biggest early success came with Viva Zapata in 1952, in which he played Eufemio Zapata, the unpredictable brother of insurgent Emiliano Zapata. The part won Quinn his first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, making him the first Mexican-born actor to win an Oscar. He won a second Oscar for Lust for Life in 1956, in which he gave a powerful and emotionally moving performance as painter Paul Gauguin. These awards made him a serious performer with a wide range of emotions and abilities. Anthony Quinn's career took off when he played Alexis Zorba in Zorba the Greek in 1964. Quinn became known for this character, which was full of life, energy, and passion. He was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for his role, and it brought him to a new generation of fans throughout the world. Zorba was more than just a character. He became a symbol of happiness, strength, and the human spirit that can't be broken. Traits that were similar to how Quinn saw the world. Quinn acted in more than 150 movies during the course of his career, in a wide range of languages and styles. He played Jesus Christ in Lulstra, Barabbas in Barabbas 1961, and Ada Abui in Lawrence of Arabia 1962, another one of his most famous parts. Quinn gave characters who may have been reduced to archetypes depth and dignity in every performance. His ability to show both power and weakness in his performances made them touch strongly with people from all over the world. Anthony Quinn was a talented painter, sculptor, and writer in addition to being an actor. His paintings was shown in galleries all throughout the world, showing how much he loved beauty, shape, and cultural expression. Quinn thought that originality could be found in more than one media. He attacked art with the same enthusiasm and fearlessness that made him a great actor. His writings, such as his memoirs, gave us a look inside a man who always wondered who he was, what he was doing, and what success meant. Anthony Quinn's personal life was as big, difficult, and passionate as the larger-than-life characters he played on screen. His marriages and relationships lasted for decades and showed how much he loved his family and how hard it was for him to control his impulsive nature. In 1937, Anthony Quinn married actress Catherine Deal. This made him a part of Hollywood royalty. Catherine was the adopted daughter of Cecil B. Deal, a famous director and producer who was one of the most important people in the film industry at the time. For Quinn, who had grown up poor after moving to the U.S. from Mexico and had to deal with years of small roles and rejection, the marriage meant both emotional stability and a chance to work. Quinn got to know powerful people through the Deal family, which helped him get forward in his early career. He was always resolved to excel on his own merits and not just because of his family ties. Anthony and Catherine had 5 children throughout their lengthy marriage, and for a long time, they seemed like a stable Hollywood family. Catherine was very dedicated to making their home stable and helping Quinn as his profession slowly moved from small parts to big dramatic roles. But Quinn's personal troubles, short temper, and never-ending desire for life started to put a strain on the union. His prominence grew, and so did his bad reputation for cheating. He later admitted that he cheated on his partners a lot because of his ego, his need for continual emotional and sexual stimulation, and his impulses. These betrayals over and over again hurt him deeply and broke down the trust he had with Catherine. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1965 after almost 30 years together. There were both good times and bad times, and animosity grew over time. This concluded a long and tumultuous chapter in his life. Anthony Quinn married Yolanda Adalori, an Italian costume designer who was much younger than him, in 1966, just a year after his first divorce. Yolanda brought a European way of thinking and an artistic temperament into Quinn's life. At first, their connection gave him a fresh sense of excitement and a chance to change his emotions. They had 3 kids together, and for a while, Quinn seemed determined to start a new family life while working in both Hollywood and Europe. Yolanda was very active in his daily life and work, often taking care of the house, while Quinn kept acting, painting, writing, and traveling a lot. Even though the marriage looked stable on the outside, it was nonetheless badly harmed by Quinn's inability to stay faithful. While he was married to Yolanda, he had a long-term relationship with Fredel Dunbar, with whom he had 2 children. This romance was going on at the same time as his marriage, and it finally became known, which caused a lot of stress and legal issues. In addition to this long-term romance, Quinn was also alleged to have had intimate connections with some of the most famous actresses from Hollywood's golden age, such as Carole Lombard, Rita Worth, Ingrid Bergman, and Maureen O'Hara. In certain cases, he even admitted to these relationships. People saw him as a charming but terribly flawed romantic figure because of these encounters, which were either short or protracted. They appreciated his enthusiasm but hated the agony he left behind. After more than 30 years of marriage, Anthony Quinn and Yolanda Adalori's relationship had gotten so bad by the 1990s that it couldn't be fixed. Quinn's romance with his secretary, Catherine Benvin, was the last straw. This relationship led to the birth of 2 more children. The emotional toll, along with years of cheating and public shame, caused his marriage to Yolanda to collapse in 1997. The divorce was very public and quite nasty, showing how much harm had been done over the years by unresolved dispute after his second marriage ended. Anthony Quinn married Catherine Benvin, making official a relationship that had already changed his life in a big way. Even though he was older at the time, Quinn was still quite active in family life. He became a father again and was proud of his children. This last marriage was both a continuation and a break from the past. It showed how much he still needed friends and family, even as it showed the patterns of behavior that had shaped his romantic life for decades. For decades, people asked Anthony Quinn about several of his famous contemporaries. However, he was rather quiet when the subject of Charles Bronson came up. People often talked about the 2 men in the same breath. They were tough actors who showed off their raw masculinity and made it clear that they were dangerous on screen. Quinn, until later in life, chose to talk honestly about Bronson. He did it in a way that was neither sensational nor dismissive, but instead showed how much he respected the man beneath the scary image. Quinn said that a lot of people didn't get Bronson's movie character. People thought Charles was like a wall of stone that couldn't be broken, Quinn remarked. But that was just the armor he donned to protect himself. There was a man underneath it who had fought his way up from nothing. Quinn saw a kindred spirit in Bronson because he had also come from a poor and harsh life. Both guys had grown up with hunger, hard work, and the constant need to stay alive. Quinn thought that this common background made Bronson's strong presence on screen. Quinn thought about Bronson's acting technique and said that he was neither confined or one-dimensional. Quinn said that Charles didn't waste words. Every sound and every movement had a meaning. That takes self-control. That requires intelligence. Quinn liked how Bronson could take over a scene without making big remarks or using dramatic gestures. Instead, he used a calm, simmering intensity that spectators couldn't ignore. Quinn also talked on Bronson's reputation in Hollywood as a harsh person who is hard to get to know. Quinn said he was careful, and with good cause. It's hard to trust people when you come from where we did. Quinn says that Bronson's hardness had less to do with his ego and more to do with staying alive. He learned early on that those who are weak may be taken advantage of, and he carried that lesson with him throughout his career. Quinn said that even though they were alike, there were fundamental differences between them. Quinn stated, "Charles was more alone than I was. I loved turmoil, people, and noise. Charles liked to keep his distance. He needed peace and quiet." But Quinn never thought of this as being rude. He thought that Bronson was doing this to stay in charge in an industry that often tried to change actors to fit safer, more marketable models. Quinn's recognition of Bronson's legacy was perhaps the most stunning. Charles, he said, became a symbol not only of violence and revenge, but also of the working guy who won't give up. Quinn thought that people all across the world liked Bronson because they thought he was real, someone who appeared like they had really been through the same things as their characters. Quinn made it clear that he didn't want to make Bronson seem like a myth by breaking his silence. Instead, he wanted to make him seem more real. Quinn said, "He wasn't perfect, none of us were, but he was honest about his strength, which is rare." Anthony Quinn's last remarks were a polite homage, not based on gossip or rivalry, but on shared experiences, mutual understanding, and a heartfelt admiration for a fellow survivor who had a lasting impact on cinema. In the serene twilight of his life, Anthony Quinn left the spotlight of Hollywood and sought peace in the coastal hamlet of Bristol, Rhode Island. The calm beauty of the area was a haven for him after decades of huge performances and restless creative energy. He spent his last year there, away from sound stages and spotlights, enjoying the simple things he loved most: privacy, reflection, and the vista of Narragansett Bay that seemed to go on forever toward the horizon. Quinn died in Boston on June 3, 2001, at the age of 86. He had respiratory failure as a result of complications following radiation treatment for lung cancer. His death marked the end of an amazing life that spanned continents, civilizations, and generations of movies. He left behind a creative legacy that few performers have ever been able to match. Fans all over the world were sad to hear the news. They had grown to know him as a larger-than-life person who was strong, passionate, and very human, both on and off screen. The First Baptist Church in America, on College Hill in Providence, Rhode Island, hosted Quinn's funeral, a place full of history and quiet dignity. It was a good sight to memorialize a man whose life story seemed almost mythical, full of struggle, success, and an unwavering love of art. Family, friends, and fans of his work came together to pay their respects and think about a career that had brought unforgettable characters to life and pushed the limits of what a leading man might be. Quinn's wife made a very personal and moving request to the town of Bristol. She wanted to bury him not in a regular cemetery but in the area he loved most, his own backyard. The couple bought the land in 1995 because they liked how peaceful it was and how beautiful the view of the bay was. Quinn felt at home and happy there, near an old maple tree that had been watching over the property for a long time. The authorities agreed to the request, honoring both the family